Big goals don't usually start with big effort. They start with something almost too small to notice. Alex learned that the hard way. He had a real dream, steady progress, a stronger body, a new career path. But most weeks, he burned out. He'd try to change everything at once. Then the pressure hit. The momentum vanished. Even worse, his brain started to expect failure. So Alex did something different. He stopped chasing intensity. He chose micro-habits, tiny actions he could do even on his worst days. 2 minutes of practice. 1 page of notes. A glass of water before scrolling. Nothing dramatic. Nothing heroic. And slowly, something shifted. Not because motivation magically showed up, but because repeated actions begin to build neural pathways. Each small win tells your brain, this is possible. That reduces brain resistance. Over time, the habit stops feeling like a fight. Consistency beats intensity. Always. Watch how Alex goes from stuck and frustrated to steady and unstoppable, by letting small steps carry the weight of big change. The failure of massive change. Introduce Alex, who tried to overhaul his life overnight, but failed due to brain resistance and burnout. Big change feels appealing, but the brain often treats sudden shifts like a threat. When plans require too much willpower at once, brain resistance shows up as procrastination, irritability, and mental fatigue. Consistency matters because the brain prefers patterns it can run on autopilot. Intensity is harder to repeat. Alex learned this the hard way. He decided to overhaul his life overnight: new routine, new workouts, cleaner eating, earlier mornings, and deeper focus. He picked bold goals that looked great on paper. The first day felt energizing, but by the third day the energy faded fast. His mind kept negotiating, just this once, first'll start again tomorrow, first deserve a break. Then burnout arrived quietly, through headaches, restless sleep, and a sense of failure that wasn't about effort. It was about the mismatch between his plan and his nervous system's limits. The biggest problem was that massive change demands constant decision-making. Every hour became a new test: what to eat, when to move, how to stay on track, how to handle stress. That constant switching drains attention and makes setbacks feel personal. Alex's motivation wasn't weak, it was overloaded. When the brain senses repeated strain, it pushes back, forming protective responses that steer him away from the very behavior he wants. Even good intentions can trigger avoidance when the path feels too steep. After that cycle, Alex noticed a pattern he hadn't named before. When he tried to do everything at once, his reset days turned into weeks. When he fell off, he didn't just miss a goal, he lost confidence in himself. His self-talk got harsher, which made brain resistance stronger the next time he tried. So the lesson landed gently but clearly. Massive change asks for change before the brain is ready. For Alex, the failure wasn't proof he couldn't win. It was proof that the method was wrong. The discovery of microhabits, how Alex learned the 2-minute rule and started with one tiny action, e.g., putting on running shoes, instead of a full workout. Small habits work because the brain prefers low-effort starts. When a routine feels tiny, it reduces brain resistance, the quiet push to delay anything that costs energy. Over time, those repeated starts help build neural pathways that make action feel more automatic. Consistency beats intensity. Always. Alex learned this the hard way. At first, he tried to earn motivation with big workouts and perfect plans. He'd promise himself that today would be different, then stall at the doorway when the full session felt too heavy. Some days he would skip entirely, then feel a sharp drop in confidence. The pattern wasn't laziness. It was friction. Each attempt asked for too much at once. Then one shift changed everything: the 2-minute rule. Instead of starting a full workout, Alex committed to one tiny action that took almost no courage or preparation. He would put on his running shoes. That was it. If he still felt okay, he could continue. If he didn't, the habit was already done, and the win counted. This small beginning mattered because it made the next step easier, not by force but by momentum. He also noticed how the ritual worked on his mind. When his only goal was 2 minutes, his brain stopped arguing about the whole hour. His attention stayed on one simple move, shoes, then maybe a walk around the block. The pressure dropped. The decision became light. That's the psychology underneath it. Micro habits lower the activation energy, so your nervous system learns that starting is safe. After a while, Alex started using a simple rule for any goal. Make the first action so small it feels almost silly. For reading, it was opening the book and reading a single paragraph. For studying, it was placing notes on the desk and writing one sentence. For healthy eating, it was washing a piece of fruit and setting it where he could see it. Each action created a clear start line for the day, and start lines are powerful. They turn vague intentions into real behavior. The biggest win wasn't just what he did. It was what he stopped doing. Alex stopped waiting for a surge of motivation, and he stopped relying on willpower as a daily fuel source. Neural pathways strengthened through repeated, low-friction practice. In plain terms, his brain got trained to expect action, not excuses. Eventually, longer workouts became the default, not because he suddenly became tougher, but because he had already proven to himself that starting was easy. The mechanics of change explain the psychology of invisible progress, why the brain stops resisting when a task feels too small to fail. When a task feels too big, the brain treats it like a threat to comfort. That's not about willpower, it's about brain resistance. Your mind predicts friction, time pressure, and the risk of failure. So it tries to protect you by delaying action. In that moment, even starting can feel heavy. Microhabits bypass the protection by shrinking the size of the decision. When the next step is tiny enough, the brain stops arguing with it. The cost of failure feels low, so fear loses its grip. Consistency beats intensity. Always. Alex learned this the hard way. He used to set goals like work out every day and write for hours, then he'd hit a rough day and fall off. The gap between should and can grew, and his motivation followed the gap. Small steps change the internal story. Instead of first failing again, the mind can say first showed up. That shift matters because the brain prefers patterns it can predict. Each completed microstep becomes proof that the goal is reachable. Over time, neural pathways strengthen through repetition, making the action feel more automatic. This is why invisible progress still counts. It's not the workout or the page that builds the future, it's the track record of starting. Alex's turning point came from making the task almost laughably easy. He didn't begin with a full workout, he began with laying out his clothes. He didn't start with a long writing session, he opened the document and wrote one sentence. Some days that sentence turned into more. Other days it stayed one sentence. Either way, the most important signal got through: action is safe, simple, and under control. The method also works because it reduces decision fatigue. Choosing to do the thing every day creates constant mental negotiation. But choosing a fixed, tiny first step turns the habit into a cue-response loop. The brain learns after first see this cue, first do a small action. That's when resistance drops. Not because the goal becomes smaller forever, but because the start stops feeling risky. Pauses can help too. Alex began using a calm pause before his micro-step, breathing once, then moving. That short pause lowered the emotional temperature. It made the next action feel less like a battle and more like a simple routine. When he finally expanded, adding time, increasing effort, he wasn't starting from zero. He was building on a foundation already laid by minimum wins. Consistency beats intensity. Always. The domino effect. How Alex's tiny habit naturally evolved over 3 months into a powerful routine, transforming his health and confidence. Small habits work because your brain prefers already learned actions, not risky reinventions. When you repeat a simple behavior, neural pathways strengthen and friction drops. That's how tiny starts can quietly become durable routines. Alex began with something so small it felt almost silly, just one page, one glass of water, one short walk after work. At first, his days looked normal on the outside, but inside he was tired of starting over. Motivation came and went, his plan didn't. Some evenings he skipped entirely, then punished himself with guilt. Brain resistance showed up as that familiar, later feeling, the one that grows when the task looks too big. So he changed the size, not the goal. He made the habit so easy that his only job was to begin. On rough days, he still did the smallest version, one page instead of reading for an hour, a brief walk instead of a full workout. Consistency beat intensity. Always. Each one became proof that he could follow through, even when his mood wasn't cooperative. In calm repetition, his self-trust increased, and the habit needed less willpower to survive. Then the dominoes started moving. Because the first step was already in place, it naturally invited the next. After a few walks, he began choosing shoes without thinking. After reading became a daily cue, he started highlighting lines without forcing it. His water habit made him more aware of how his body felt, so he made small food choices more often. What looked like random improvements was really his brain linking actions together, cue to behavior to reward, until the routine felt normal. By the time the habit had fully evolved, Alex didn't feel like he was chasing health and confidence anymore. He felt like he was maintaining them. Health improved in practical ways, steadier energy, fewer crashes, and more control over his routine. Confidence followed the same pathway, too. Every day he showed up for the micro step, his mind registered safety and competence. That's the real domino effect. Small actions don't just change your body. They change your expectations of yourself. The call to action, a challenge for the viewer to pick one microhabit today to trigger their own massive transformation. Microhabits work because the brain prefers small, clear actions over big, fuzzy goals. Your brain resistance rises when tasks feel heavy or unclear, and it drops when the next step is so easy you can't argue with it. When you repeat a tiny action, your neural pathways get a little stronger, and the behavior starts to feel more automatic. Consistency beats intensity. Always. In Alex's early days, he tried to change everything at once. He planned long workouts, strict meal rules, and a perfect schedule, then crashed when real life showed up, late nights, stress, and days that didn't cooperate. Each failure felt personal, so he delayed the next attempt even more. The pattern was exhausting. Then one day he made a deal with himself. He would do one small thing, even on the worst day. After that, he began. Just one habit at a time, kept tiny enough to start on autopilot. He chose microhabits that removed friction. Instead of exercise every day, he started with put on running shoes, and did a short walk if he had the energy. Instead of read a lot, he kept one page by his bed and read that one page before sleep. The win was never the workout length or the page count. The win was identity. First, the kind of person who shows up. Over time, those tiny starts made bigger action feel more normal. His confidence followed his consistency, not the other way around. Now the challenge is simple and gentle. Pick one microhabit today that you can complete in under 2 minutes. Make it specific, small enough that you could do it even when you feel tired. Then attach it to a routine you already have, like brushing your teeth, making coffee, or sitting down at your desk. Write it down where you'll see it and choose the first action only. No upgrades yet. No penalties. Just the next step. When you finish, stop and notice the pause of relief. That pause matters. It teaches your brain that starting is safe, and that momentum can begin with almost nothing. Alex's transformation didn't come from a dramatic comeback, it came from choosing one small act that reliably started the chain reaction. Your turn can be just as quiet, just as real. Today, choose your microhabit. Do it once. Then let it grow from there. At the start, Alex didn't fail because he lacked talent. He failed because he tried to change everything at once. Big goals felt heavy. His brain didn't move. It pushed back. That's brain resistance at work. He needed a smaller door in. So Alex began with microhabits. Not a new life overnight. Just one tiny action. 2 minutes of practice. 1 page of reading. 1 walk after dinner. Small steps, every day, quiet, simple, repeatable. And then something shifted. Not all at once. In layers. Each time Alex showed up, his neural pathways strengthened. His brain started to expect progress. Consistency became easier than motivation. Consistency beats intensity. Always. If you've ever felt stuck, this might be your answer. Make it so small you can't say no. When willpower runs out, the habit can still carry you. Microhabits work because they reduce friction. They help you build identity through proof. First, I'm someone who keeps promises, one tiny promise at a time. Here's the key summary you can take with you. Choose one small action. Tie it to a time or cue. Repeat it until it feels normal. Then, and only then, gently scale. Big goals don't start big. They start small. Try it today. Pick one microhabit you can do in under 2 minutes. Set a simple cue. Do it once, just once, then let tomorrow be the next step. If you want, share your microhabit in the comments. Let's encourage each other gently, in real time. In the next video, we'll help you design the perfect microhabit for your exact goal, so you're not guessing. You'll leave with a simple plan you can start today, even if you've tried before and felt defeated.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.